guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping by and watching our previous video. This time, we're going to show you new anime in fall 2021. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell for more videos. When the season ends, it will switch to the new season. It's also similar to anime. The season will always change and will always be equally weighted by anime fans for each new season. Here's the feed of new anime in fall 2021 you can watch in your leisure time. Happy watching! Number 10 is Jahy no Paladin. The first list, we have an anime which is adapted from a Japanese light novel series written by Kanata Yanagino and illustrated by Kususaga Rin. Carrying a fancy adventure as the main genre, the story is set in the city of the dead, long since ruined and far from human civilization. William G. Merryblood is a man who lives in a ruined city of the dead. He has been raised by three undead: the haughty skeletal warrior Blood, the graceful mummified priestess Mary, and a sorcerer named August. The three poor live into the boy and teach him all they know. The story will follow William as he starts revealing more the parts of the secret of the dead. He eventually knows everything and takes away to become a paladin. Number 9 is Taisho Otome Atakibanashi. Aired in fall 2021, this anime series is a comedy slice of life anime which puts historical elements inside the story. Adapted from a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Sana Kiriaka, the story is set in 1921 during the Taisho era, which will follow a teenage boy with a literary band when he's cast out and exiled along with a loyal woman who always accompanies him. Tomohiko Shima is the youngest son of the powerful and wealthy Shima family. After losing his mother and crippling his dominant arm in an accident, Tomohiko fell into deep despair and is cast aside by his own father for his handicap. Condemned to live isolated and far from his home along with a girl named Yuzuki Tachibana, who is a bride sent by his father. The story will revolve around the life of Tomohiko and Yuzuki as they live complementary to each other. Number 8 is Shinno Nakama Janai Toyusha no Pati wo Oida Sarita no De Hankyu da Slow Life Suru Kotoni Shimashita. Having a really long title, this anime is one of the new anime in fall 2021. It's a fancy slice of life anime which is adapted from a Japanese light novel series written by Zappon and illustrated by Yasumo. The story begins when a heroic adventurer opens a pharmacy. Red was once a member of the Heroes Party, a powerful group destined to save the world from the evil forces of Tareksin, the raging demon lord. That is, until one of his comrades kicked him out. When his goal of life changes, he eventually opens a pharmacy. However, keeping the secret of his former life may not be as simple as he thinks. Especially when the beautiful Red, an adventurer from his past, shows up and asks to live with him. Number 7 is Tugged of Destiny. Let's back to the original anime by Madhouse in collaboration with MAPPA. Carrying an action fantasy as the main genre with music elements inside the story, it begins with a black meteorite falling on the world, and the world completely changes. The meteorite produces grotesque monsters called T2 that start running rampant. T2 very quickly bundle music. There are some young women who hold the power of music called Music Hot. Set in America in the year of 2047, the story follows Tugged, a conductor which is partnered with a music hot named Unmei. They work together to destroy T2. Number 6 is Sekai Seiko no Ansatsusha Isekai Kuseku ni Tensei Zuru. Adapted from a Japanese light novel series written by Rui Sekio and illustrated by Raya, The story will revolve around the life of an old man when he must be dead and reincarnated to another world. He's an old master of assassin who decides to retire until one day, the plan he was on was sabotaged and even his skills as the greatest assassin couldn't save him. Died and reincarnated, he takes the new name, Lu Tuade, and swears to live a normal life. Number 5 is Megami-Ryou. Now we have a comedy horror anime that's quite interesting. Adapted from a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Tomoki Izumi, the story will follow a young girl as she has an ability to see horrifying ghosts and spirits. Mika Yatsuya is an ordinary high school student who has the unfortunate ability to see horrifying ghosts and spirits that haunt her and the people around her. The story will revolve around Mika's life when she does her best to ignore the existence of ghosts and tries to live out a normal high school life. Number 4 is World's End Harem. World's End Harem or Shimatsu no Harem is the long-awaited ecchi anime which eventually airs in fall 2021. This anime series is adapted from a Japanese manga series written by Link and illustrated by Kotaro Shono. The story begins in 2014, which will follow the life of a normal guy until one day, the men in the world almost disappear and only a few men remain. Reito Mizuhara is a young man put into cryostasis while waiting for treatment. 5 years later, in 2045, he discovers that a deadly and contagious virus has killed 99.9% of the world's male population, including himself. The story will revolve around Rito and the few remaining males who must participate in a breeding program by impregnating as many women as possible to prevent humans from extinction. Number 3 is Blue Period. Now we have a drama slice of life anime which is adapted from a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Tsubasa Yamaguchi. The story will follow a quite popular student who excels in school, but often deals with inner emptiness and frustrations. Yatoro Yaguchi is a fairly popular student in his school. However, behind all popularity he has, Yatoro feels alone and frustrated. One day, he became fascinated so deeply by a painting at his high school's art club that it inspired him to try his hand at painting. He eventually finds out his goal of life. Number 2 is Platinum End. Carrying a psychological supernatural as the main genre, Platinum End is adapted from a Japanese manga series written by Tsukumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. The story will revolve around a young man who commits suicide but is rescued by his guardian angel. Mirai Kakehashi is a young student fed up with the life of abuse from his uncle and aunt who raised him since his parents' death, but is saved by a guardian angel called Naze. The story revolves around Mirai's life as he discovers some shocking events in his life. Number 1 is Komi Can't Communicate. On the last list, we have Komi Can't Communicate series or Komizanwa Komyusho Dasu in Japanese. It's a comedy anime which is set in a high school. It's adapted from a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Tamahito Oda that will revolve around the daily life of a young high school girl who is unable to communicate with other people. Shoko Komi immediately receives an overwhelming surge in popularity due to the unprecedented stoic beauty. However, despite her beauty, Shoko is a girl who has a serious problem at communicating with other people. By Hito Tadano's help, an exceedingly average schoolboy who sits next to her, the story will revolve around Komi and Hito as they start communicating with each other with someone around them. Well, that's all the list of new anime in fall 2021. Do you have any favorite ones on the list? If you do, let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit the like button and share this video as much as you can to your friends if you really enjoy this. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next time.